We're doing it old school today. And there one. Who is all here? Oh, this is different. Maybe this is why I've been having issues. So live looks very different from my end. We got stickers. We got polls now. This is cool. There will everybody. Okay. I can't see who's all in here. So if you're in here, drop a comment. If you're in here, drop a comment. Let me know where you're at and where you're from. And they will hit the heart button if you're in there. I just saw one person hit the heart thing. So hit the heart if you're in here. Hit the heart. Hit the heart. And they will. We're gonna begin once we get 10 people in here. Okay. We're gonna start once we have 10 people in here. And day one, we're already at 5. For those who don't know, my name is Derek Ofaderwa. This is Ask Me Almost Anything. We haven't done these in a while. I was having technical issues the last time, but we're back. Sammy Ekeleme says hi. Sammy. And there will hey, those of you who are in Nigeria and you're not able to join Patreon, you can now join and become a member. Become a member of the Medicine Shell through YouTube. So join, become a member of the channel, and you'll get the same benefits as Patreon. You'll get added to the group studies we have, the Odinani calendar, and everything. So join the member group. Join the members. This is something I've been trying to solve for a long time, and we now have a solution. For those who want to support the channel, how do I type? They've changed this thing, so I can't type. Somebody type patreon.com/the medicine shell. Oh, Kevin, in there, Wall. Okay, in there, Wall, Kevin. Good seeing you. Always good seeing you. Glowhand, in there, Wall. Good seeing you. All right, y'all, we've hit 10 people. Let us begin. Let us begin. So this is Ask Me Anything. My name is Derek Ofaderwa. I'm the host of the Medicine Shell. I discuss Odinala, which is Igbo spirituality, ancestral cosmology, and science, philosophy, all of it in one. So for those of you who are new here, this is Ask Me Anything. So long as you ask me the question. Ebony from Texas, and there, well, Ebony, who do. You and I may be close to each other. I'm actually in your state right now, so I'll do my. So those, anyways, let me go ahead and begin. Okay. Okike keruwa, ala bụ ala, ala nne mmadụ na nne mmụọ, ọnwa dị n'eluigwe, ọnwa na-acha acha, ọnwa na-esobe ije, ọnwa na-esobe ụkwụ. Ụmụ gị abịala. Ejikwere m obiọma na-ekele ndị eke, ndị orie, ndị afọ na ndị nkwọ, ndị mbụ na ndị egede, ndị mmadụ na ndị mmụọ. Ejikwere m obiọma na-ekele ndị ọkpụ na ndị ichie, ma n'ala Afrịka, ma n'ala US, ma n'ala niile anyị fụrụ onwe anyị. Ebe ọbụla anyị dị bụ ebe a ga-echi. Ebe ọbụla anyị dị bụ ebe anyị ga-eto. Ebe ọbụla anyị dị bụ ebe anyị ga-karị ibe anyị. Maka na anyị bụ ụmụ Chineke, ụmụ Chukwu mụrụ n'ụwa ka ha dị ka ha gọzie ụwa. Otu a ka ọ ga-adị na eke na orie na afọ na nkwọ ise. All right, ndewo, let's go. Ndewo, Dinta says let's go. Oh yeah, this is Ask Me Anything. As long as you guys have questions, I'll be here. Once the questions run out, I run out. Normally I have a different setup, but I said let me just keep it simple so that I don't have too many technical issues. But I like this. I like the simplicity. So let's keep it going. This is Emeka. Oh, Emeka ndewo, Emeka. Emeka ndewo. Oh, okay. I can see I know you from the tiger with the in the bush image. So Odemma, Jishika. Emeka, how are you doing? Ndewo no. All right, y'all. So, like I said, this is Ask Me Anything. If you guys have questions about ancestral spirituality or things you want to discuss within the scope of ancestral spirituality, then let's make it happen. Let's talk. So, at the current moment, I am teaching the traditional medicine class, the 2 traditional medicine classes, and we've been having some really good discussions around the concept of the ezumezu, which is the full and total self in Odinani. For those who don't know, the Ezumezu, the best way to understand the Ezumezu is to picture yourself like a galaxy or like a solar system. So it's everything that's floating around in your solar system, everything that comprises you as a human being, both physically and spiritually, and how much Debia work differs from Western medicine because it really is about mending relationships, right? The ancestral understanding of healing is that it is about relationships because the universe is a web of relationships, broken and well kept. And so we're discussing how to patch those spiritual relationships with forces beyond humanity. And then in All Who 2, we looked at a case study, we looked at a really interesting case study of a person being healed from possession by a water spirit. From this book, I think I have the book around me. Let me see if I have the book here. Anyways, it's an excerpt from one of the books that one of the books I highly recommend, right? Ademma. Doing more research on water children. Yeah, same here. Very powerful. Ademma. This is Emeka. It says I'm transitioning. Cha. Ademma. Ademma. Emeka, what are you transitioning to? Moving? Are you moving? Obuide, yes, the Obuide book. Okay, so maybe you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, the Obuide, it's called okay, it's in my kitchen. Yeah. So the Obuide book, we've been reading excerpts from that, and it's been incredible. So those of you who are interested in learning traditional medicine, and maybe you have the calling to be a healer, a dibia, or you just want to understand Odinani at that higher level, we have a traditional medicine class. If you're interested in joining, send me a message. We are in week 2, so it's not too late for those who still want to join. Message me immediately though, but after this week, it's a wrap. What else? Then yeah, I'll do my obuide. Okay, I haven't seen one question. I don't know if I've been gone for 2 weeks, so maybe we've forgotten the pattern, the rules of the live, right? The rules are so long as you have questions, I will be here. Once the questions run out, I run out. It looks like the questions have ran out, right? Looks like they have ran out. All right. So Ebony says, what guidance would you have for someone who's starting to discover this side of life and needs to learn the language? Odema. Yeah, so learning the language, it's a commitment. So I commend you for doing that. We have an Igbo language class with Kedu, right? And it's very, very effective. I take a lot of pride in the amount of students we have that can speak Igbo now, but I take particular pride in the students who have like not heard the Igbo language before, but within like 3 months, 6 months, they're speaking. So you can join our our language class. Ebony, if you are interested, send me a message or an email, or go to www.kedu.me. If somebody can type this, I can't type. I don't know how to type right now. kedu.me, www.kedu.me, kedu.me, and sign up there. We can get you in the language class because we just started, so there's still you can catch up pretty easy. Okay, if learning from us is not the most immediate thing, as far as learning the language, I would advise finding like content creators who can ease you into it, and then also finding something you enjoy in the language, like a song and things like that, and trying to figure out what's being said or a movie and that kind of thing. As far as Odinani, like as a path, I would begin by, I would advise you, of course, learn the names and the stories of your ancestors, right? Learn the names and the stories of your ancestors, who they were, what they wanted in the world, what they did in the world, the imprint they have on you, the imprint you're having on them, right? Because they're still with you. And once you learn who they are, begin the dialogue, right? Begin to greet them in the morning, right? Begin to greet them in the morning. Now, of course, I would always advise using the Igbo way of greeting, but not everybody's ancestors are grew up in Igbo culture. So you greet the ancestors the way they would normally be greeted. If you are if your ancestors are Gullah Geechee, you're going to greet them in the Gullah Geechee way of greeting. If they are Jamaican, you're going to greet them in Patois. If they are, I don't know, Ethiopian, you're going to speak that language and so forth, right? So you greet your ancestors the way you would normally greet them. Of course, I'm going to assume you have Igbo ancestors, so learning the Igbo way to do it too is great too. But yeah, I'll learn your ancestors, begin that connection. I'm hearing you. Oh, thank you. Adema, Adema. Cool, cool, cool. No problem. What do you answer? You said, I'm guessing you're Nigerian, so I'm guessing you on Igbo. Igbo on Igbo. So, yes, Igbo ancestors. Thank you, Adema. So, for Igbo ancestors, specifically learn how to perform Iwa Oji. Iwa Oji. If you want me and you and I to have a one-to-one, I don't know if you're on Patreon, but message me on Patreon. We'll schedule a one-to-one and I can teach you step by step. We also teach it in the traditional medicine class and we teach it in the language class because I think it's important for learning the language. So Iwa Oji, Iwa Oji, learn Iwa Oji, and you'll be in a good place. So what are some habits or rituals that can help you reconnect with your water family? That's dope. I was looking over the Shimba Sacred Circle channel and spoke about how to maintain connection with them. So water spirits, water people love music. Here's one. This is just one I'm going to throw at you. They love music. They love music, right? So in the way I teach Odinani, right? I'm sitting down, I'm talking, but this is not how it's experienced, right? You're dancing, you're singing, you're in it, right? Right? You're doing it. You're in your body, right? You embody it. And one of the ways you can do that with Ndimiri is music and dancing. They love music, they love dancing. They're not quiet, right? They love to party. To enjoy, right? Another thing I would advise for connecting with your Ndimiri is there's a ritual called Udochi. Udochi. And there's also another ritual called Miri, what is it? Miriwa, right? Message me on Patreon and I can kind of teach you those. But the most simple thing you can do is take something to them, take something to the river, take something to the lakes, take something to a body of water ocean where you can find peace. Make sure it's biodegradable, right? So if you're taking, okay, and then here are the things they like. Ndimiri like things that are sweet. Ndimiri like things that are shiny. Ndimiri like things that children tend to like. Most specifically, if you're talking about your water people, then it's going to be things that you as a child liked, right? Remember things that you as a child would have wanted. Okay, so if you're taking candy, take your favorite candies. If you're taking soda, take your favorite sodas. Pour it into the water. Don't just throw a can or a bottle in the water, right? Um, and just spend time in water. Spend time in water, communicate with water. Talk to the water like it's a person. You'll be very surprised to see what happens. Okay? Yes, I'm a professional dancer. Perfect. 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 Uh Okay, Odema, very good. So if you're a professional dancer, exactly. So remember that this is the tradition is very musical. It is it's something you dance, right? When we talk about water spirits, you get in the water, you let the water touch you, that kind of thing. You do this with your whole body. You do it with your whole body and your whole spirit, and that's how it works, right? Like I said, I teach by just speaking and sitting down and speaking and being comfortable. And that's cool too, but I don't want people to think that this is just something you sit down and talk about, right? You live it, you do it, right? You dance it, you eat it, you that kind of thing, right? You experience it with as much of yourself as possible, right? The more of yourself, the more power you're infusing. So I dance outside the park in the morning. It's so freeing and connecting. You say. There's something very interesting. So in the traditional medicine class, we were talking about how dancing is used to diagnose a person. We also had a group study on Patreon about this exact topic. So in ancestral medicine, right? Dancing is used very often to diagnose. And the idea behind it is when a person is dancing, you see what spirit is animating them. You see what or the condition of the spirit that is animating them, right? Think about it this way. Your favorite song comes on, you're going to dance a little bit better than when a song you don't like comes on. It's just natural, right? But what if your favorite song comes on and you're sick? Like you actually have like a fever. All of a sudden you can't lock in the way you used to. It's going to affect the way you move, right? If somebody's dancing and they're self-conscious, or just these are just basic ways of understanding it. If somebody's self-conscious, you can see it in their dancing. If they're uncomfortable, if they're paranoid, you can see it in their dancing. If they're very free, if they're very healthy, if they're very connected to themselves, you can see it in the way they dance. So very often dance gets used to identify the spirit that animates you, and then that determines how to treat the spiritual side of what's afflicting you. Now, the reason I brought this all up is because I do feel that it is a sign of good spiritual health when you can dance wherever the hell you want to dance, right? I think it is a sign of good spiritual health if you can dance wherever the hell you want to dance and dance well wherever you want to do it. If you're thinking of, oh man, I look stupid right now. Oh, I don't look. Oh, this is cringe, as the young youth say, right? As the jits say, oh, I'm cringe right now. That is a sign of bad spiritual health, and you'll see it when the person is dancing, right? So I think dancing whatever the hell you want to dance, however the hell you want to dance, and feeling in yourself and comfortable doing it, I think that is a very good sign. So if you're dancing in the morning, when you take your walk and that kind of thing, very good health. There's this man in the old town I used to live in. He had become like a town hero because every morning he would take his walk, but he's dancing. He has this is the Walkman era, right? So he's got his Walkman and he's doing his little thing and he does spins and all that stuff. And sometimes he has a cane, and you just know that this man is in superb spiritual health. Superb spiritual health, right? Once you start, you can't move because maybe you're thinking this and feeling this and all that, all these different things. That's a sign that something's wrong, right? It's a sign that something's wrong. And the way I compare it is just think about when you're sick. It's harder to dance when you're sick. If you have the flu, whatever, your favorite song comes on, you're not going to feel it the way you used to feel it because something's wrong spiritually and physically. So, Odemma. All right, let's go. All right, I see questions. There we go. The water loves ginger ale. Tell us, tell us, tell us. I like that. I like that. I've never taken ginger ale to the water, so that's powerful. Tell us, tell us. Those of you, another thing about Odinala, anything about our ancestral and diasporic spiritual traditions, they are experiential. They are experiential. There are things that people have experienced and they are now conveying to their descendants. So if you've taken ginger ale to the waters and you've seen the effects, you have now added something to the tradition just from your experience. That's why I said that. I often say that Odinala is not about belief, right? Leave the belief thing alone. This is not about belief. If I say something and you don't believe it, you are under no obligation to start believing me. In fact, continue not believing me, right? That kind of thing. It is not about belief. It is about experience. It is about what people have felt and seen and done and what has worked for them in the past. And so if you've taken ginger ale, right, now you can tell the those coming after you, take ginger ale to the water. They love it, right? In Nigeria, there's a Fanta. There's the Christians in Nigeria will say that we're worshiping Fanta because they figured out that the Ndimiri water spirits love Fanta. They love Fanta. And so you'll see a lot of people taking Fanta to the river. which is very, it looks very funny to the Christians and things like that. Or you'll see like a shrine and it's just hella Fanta bottles on the floor and that kind of thing. So yeah. Water loves ginger ale, but yeah, ginger ale's new. I've never considered that. I dance outside in the park in the morning, so freeing and connecting. Exactly. Is ose buluwa the same as ete? Oh, good question. Ete are the pathways that ose buluwa moves through. Okay. Ete are the roadways, the rivers that Ete is the canal or the whatever, and the river, and Osebuluwa is the water, right? Osebuluwa, for those who don't know, is one of the names for the creator. Is one of the names for the creator in Udinala. Is Osebuluwa, right? Ose is very hard to define in English, but it is like a wave or like a sensation, right? A sensation, a wave, an energy, a movement, that kind of thing. So Osebuluwa literally says the energy that carries the universe. Okay? So as you're seeing me, I'm a living thing. I'm moving around. That thing that's carrying me, the weight, like it's like a boat on a river, right? A boat on an ocean. And the thing that that energy that's carrying the boat is Osebuluwa. So the entire universe is being carried and moved by this Ose, that we refer to as Osebuluwa, which is the creator. So Ete are then the cosmic strings, right? The cosmic rivers, the cosmic roads between connect all things. Osebuluwa flows through those canals, if that makes sense, right? Osebuluwa flow is the water flowing through the ete. Okay, so think of like ete like the bloodstream. Think of it like the veins, and Osebuluwa is like the blood flowing through. Okay, that's a dope ass question. Water is abundance. He said water is used in cleansing things. He said, but nothing is used in cleansing water. He said, hey, that was powerful. It's partially why when I meet people, heal them, but never really give them anything. He said, man, that's powerful. So you guys need to get a screenshot of what Emeka just typed, right? Get a screenshot of what Emeka just typed. So people, okay, how do I learn about water spirits, that kind of thing? Look at water. Tell me what you know about water, right? Tell me what you know about water, then you've told me what you know about water spirits. So you know that water cleans everything, but nothing cleans water, right? So I don't need to tell you that about water spirits because it's the same thing, right? You know that, what was the other one? It's used in cleansing things. You know that water is abundance, right? All these different things. When somebody says Nemiri, do not forget that they're or Oshun and all that stuff. Do not forget they are very literally talking about water. They're not talking about a thing that is like controlling water, if that makes sense. It is water. It's like if you're talking about me, you're also talking about my physical form, my physical frame, right? Super powerful, super powerful. Emeka, that was dope. Everybody get a screenshot of what Emeka just typed. There we go. I made offerings to the river around spring equinox. That's dope. He said, that's dope. John, what was the experience like? Okay, there we go. He gave me some shells after I gave it an offer and clean up the trash. Damn, there you go, man. Hit the hearts for John. Hit the hearts for John. And hit the hearts for Emeka too. Hit the hearts for John and Emeka. You guys are just drop some bombs on us. Yeah. No, 100%. So you get it. That's it. Look at what John just said. That's all I'm talking about. He went to the river. He communicated. He got some shells as a gift from the water. He was grateful for it. In return, he cleaned up the river to show appreciation, and he went about his day. That's really it, right? That's why I said that we're not talking about belief. Are you going to tell him that his shells aren't real, right? Are you going to tell him those shells are his belief? Are you going to tell him that the effort he used in cleaning the water was a belief? No, It's real. It's a real relationship, right? It's a real relationship, right? And this is what it looks like. There is one of the reasons I was inspired to start the medicine show. Because I started the medicine show like as an archiving project, and then became I started growing it in a different direction as a person because of it. And one of the reasons, because I knew that eventually people were going to start trying to add all these pseudo religious things over it and da 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 and that kind of thing, right? Which I see in different ATRs and that kind of thing. So I said, let me just archive it so people know what it is before that. So as a reference, to have some people can reference. And that's growing up. That's what John just said is what I saw with my own two eyes growing up in the tradition. That's what I saw. That's what I saw, right? Everything else. I saw this video that pissed me off, a bunch of people doing praise and devotion at a river. And there's doing that whole thing. And it's no, dude, don't come with this shit. Well, whatever, they'll stop. Oh God, that orange Fanta. Yeah. John, that was dope. I really like that story. What can you tell us about Igbo symbols like Eke Oria Afo Onkwo, that pit going around with the symbols for the market days? I tried Googling, verifying, nothing definitive came up. The symbol, okay. So yeah, people are just gonna make shit up. Maybe it's real. I don't know which picture you're talking about, right? So it's cool that you double checked. Um, the symbol for Eke is a spiral, okay? The symbol for Eke is a spiral. This is an Insibidi and Uli, right? If you need, I have it in my library so you can take a look at it. The spirit or I'm not going to go in order. I'm not going to go in order. The symbol for Afo is an upside down T. So it's this, and then it's this, okay? It's like an upside down T. That's the sign for Afo. The symbol for Urie, I'm trying to remember. The symbol for Orie is a V, two V's going downwards, like a V and then a V on top of it, I think. I could be wrong. And then I don't recall or know the symbol for Nkwo, but I know those three. I know those three for sure. Those are the symbols for them, right? But I mean, there are other elements too. Like for example, in the traditional medicine class, we were talking about anybody who's working with water spirits. When they paint a line on their face going all the way down, that's what that means. So whenever you see an Igbo ritual or you see somebody with a line going that they're dealing, that's a water spirit sign, right? They're dealing with water spirits. That line right there. If you see Nzu on the eye, that means that they're a dibia. They've opened their spiritual eye, or seora, or a band of Nzu like that. So all them little things, they all have meanings. But so there are different symbols. That the reason I say that there are different symbols written, physically acted out, placed on the body, that kind of thing. But if you want to talk about just physically written symbols, those are the ones. People are gonna, a lot of people when they first get into it, they're very exuberant, they're very excited, and they want to just add their, oh, it would be cool if this happened, and try to make it look definitive and that kind of thing. And I think that after a while they calm down, because what they tend to learn is that this tradition has more to teach them than they have to teach it. But the biggest mistake someone can make is not giving themselves enough time to realize that. Okay, so what can you tell us about the symbol? Okay, cool. Ifa Bamila Ndewo, good seeing you. Symbols, okay, cool. I also think rivers have their own dance associated with them. There's a very specific way. Okay, so there's a very specific way of moving when it comes to water spirits too. But yeah, rivers, I'm sure they each have their own dance and that kind of thing. And there are very specific ways that they tend to move, right? But you to feel it out, do what's natural, right? Do what's natural. Feel it and then do it, right? Feel it and do it. That's what it is. I can tell you one thing, but if you're feeling another thing, then that's what you're feeling is correct. I can't tell you what you're feeling, all right? trying to take notes, and I want to I don't know what to tell you. I can't type right now, so just keep hanging out. You'll pick it up. Oh, never mind. Oh, it's fire tonight. He said, Aurora. There. I find it easier. I like that I'm learning all you guys' little monikers and aliases and AKAs and all that. So I find it easier to connect to my ancestors there. Kind of feels like it helps giving it perfect. Yeah, yeah, 100%. 100%. Water, and if that's the place you're finding your connection, there's a reason for that, right? There's a reason for that. So keep doing that, right? So you can ask me, hey, what's the best place to go find a connection? You already found the answer, right? That's the answer. It's where you felt most connected. Oh, never mind. Aurora, are you back in the Bodoyibo? Without revealing too much, I don't want to be talking about your business on this public forum, but are you back in the Bodoyibo? I think there was something about going home in your year. I can't remember. Yeah, I think yeah, it was that. Okay, yes, make it a priority to visit Oguta Lake the next time I visit. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oguta Lake is very powerful. Do I? I have a very funny story. For well, I don't know if it's funny, but it was funny to me, damn it. Um, oh man, I remember one time we were younger. These two older guys took us to Oguta Lake, and we were in the car. Me and my sister. We realized like, what the hell did we just do? And so we're like, okay, look, don't get kidnapped. Don't get kidnapped, right? Because again, we didn't really know them like that, and they wanted to take us. And then like, I don't know, the guy was trying to like holler at my sister or something. He was saying weird shit, talking about he's a very lonely boy or some shit like that. We're like, oh, we're about to die. We're about to die. We're about to die. But we got home safely and nothing bad happened. So don't hang out with strangers, guys. I so appreciate your channel. It's a gem in the diaspora. Jennifer, I appreciate you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Um, I was also born on Uriah Day. I have a feeling. Oh, dude, just I don't. John, I don't even need to tell you. You know, but I'm glad you're having this experience. I don't know why this is. No, you can show this comment. Revolutionary Queen. This is my first time seeing this name here. Okay, this is my first time seeing this name here. So welcome. Well, your comment got held for review. I don't know why, but I just hit show, so you should be okay. So encouraged by this conversation. I've been connected to water in so many different ways lately. I now have a fuller understanding of why. Yes, 100%, 100%. So I'm glad that we're all reaching the point too where we understand that as we're going to step into the tradition, experience it, and then based on our experiences, we are guided, right? So it's not always about what I said. Sometimes it's about what you are physically experiencing, what you are spiritually experiencing, and what it means to you, and how to look at it from an ancestral lens and so forth, right? So I can give you the training wheels, but I'm glad sounds like everybody's kind of getting it, so that's dope. With Aro Binagon, you touched Alili on each land, native born them. Can you touch Alili on that? Hold on. With Arobinago, you touched Alili on each land, having native born illness to them. What do you mean by can you touch a little? A little. Oh, I'm tripping. Okay, a little. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So every land, right? All lands have what lives on them. All lands have what are natural to them and so forth. Both again, physically and spiritually. You go to some lands, certain animals live there, certain plants grow there. Our ancestors also understand that like bacteria, all the things that make a person sick is associated with the land that it comes from, right? So there's this tradition throughout West Africa where if a stranger is coming into your town, they'll stop at like the entrance of the town. Somebody will come, wash their feet, and then they'll come in, right? It's a way of greeting a new person. And It's a way of greeting a person, and it's also a way of like, keeping, whatever, because what's normal over there can cause everybody to get sick over here and stuff like that. And so there's that, right? But at the same time, every illness, or the land where you find an illness is also the land where you find the solution. There's a balance, right? Nature balances itself. And so that concept, the consciousness of nature, the consciousness of nature that allows that to be a reality of nature, is embodied in the spirit known as Arobinago. Arobinago. Arobinago, who is a woman, to make this clear, I know why I said that, right? Arobinago is also referred to as Ne Ogun, or just Ogun. For those of you who speak Igbo, you'll know that Ogun is used to say medicine, right? It's used to say medicine. Nsi, which is Nsi, I guess they call Nsi Juju now, so the spirit of Juju. Arobinago is the spirit that guides Dibias. It is the female head of Agon. Is the female head of Agon. For those who don't know, Agon is a two-headed spirit. It's the universe's purpose-bearing spirit, right? It's the spirit that bears purpose, bears reason. It's the why of all things, and it has two heads: one female, one male. The female head is Arobinago. Arobinago. Arobinago is the consciousness of the earth, consciousness of creation. So that kind of thing. Oh, that's just my AV. Yeah, I got that. I thought you were writing Alili. Alili. So I'll do more. Also, your video on Oseara and the Seven Rings War, very affirming for me, providing words from my experience. Dope, dope, dope. I appreciate that, John. Also, to trust nature with me and apply it. Love that. I love that. Man, John, it sounds like I've been gone for 2 weeks. Sound like you've like I'm talking to the damn Buddha or something. No, that's dope. That's dope. Yeah. Which Abara is the most in alignment with the concept of discipline? Oh, good question. Which one consult for assistance? Discipline is Ekwensu. Discipline is 100% Ekwensu. Though, well, Agum also has an association with discipline too, right? So a person has two natures, as our ancestors say. There is Agua and there's Agum. Agua and Agum. Agua is you in your most absolute natural state, right? So let's say somebody left you in a forest and you were never raised like a human being. You're just pure agua, just pure nature, right? And then agon is in this context, your higher self, right? So you refine yourself towards the higher self, and agon requires discipline to operate with, right? Agon and Ekwensu are strongly associated with discipline. Ekwensu is the spirit that when the creator says it shall be like this, Ekwensu is what is there to enforce it, right? Ekwensu is also the spirit where you make a commitment, say, I'm going to, then it's there to enforce it and uphold it, right? So Ekwensu is strongly associated with discipline. Agon is strongly associated with discipline. You know what's funny? So in one of the traditional medicine classes, somebody had brought up that they think the male head of Agon is Ekwensu. And I was like, I don't think so. But as time goes, I think that person was right. I think as time grows, I really think that person was right. I think it's Arobinagon, Ekwensu, make up Agon, right? So I'll do more. So, I figured it was Agon. Yeah, it's Agon. The male head, specifically, now let me be clear, specifically the male head of Agon is associated with discipline. Specifically. The female head is almost the opposite, right? It's almost the complete opposite of discipline. You understand? It's agua, it's pure nature. It's pure nature, okay? The way we teach it in the traditional medicine class is that the female head of Agon carries the ability to be a Dibia, right? And the male head of Agon carries the purpose of the Dibia. And when you're initiating, you're actually activating the male head. You're not necessarily activating the female head's always with you. That's the one that's going to, that's just your gifts. It's gonna, your gifts are gonna come from that one if you're a Dibia, right? But the male head, once you're ready to accept the purpose and the mission and the path, that's the one you're activating, and that comes with gaining discipline and all that stuff, right? Without activating that male head, that female head will run crazy. So it's also known as Mo'ara, the spirit of madness, right? The spirit of madness. That's why there is a close association with genius and insanity. Adama. Figured as I go. How important is good character to our ancestors? Hey, we're asking the real questions. Extremely important, right? Extremely important, right? Extremely important. Anything that is spiritually aware understands that it can only associate with that which has a good character. That character is like oil, right? It's like oil. If it drops in the water, it spreads everywhere. So if it's bad, that's everybody's getting touched by it, right? It's like somebody pees in the pool, everybody's getting touched by it, right? And so character is our ancestors understand that character is very much the same way. Now, if you read, there's a level of awareness, spiritual awareness that you can reach where you understand that I can't really be desecrating my hands, right? I can't be is the phrase that's used. I can't be making my hands dirty, right? By doing X, Y, Z, all these different things. I mean, I can literally talk about this for like days, by the way. And so it's extremely important. It's the core of everything in Odinani, right? It's the core is keeping clean hands. I call it cha, right? As far as Odinani goes, it's the core of everything. Even concepts like the all fall, right? The all fall. You really cannot access your chi if you are not in alignment with your all fall. Your all fall is your commitment to the laws of your existence, which ties back to good character and so forth. Nobody is born knowing the laws of their all fall, but general good character, you should be fine. General good character, you will be fine. If you guys have heard of the 42 laws of Ma'at, it is something from Kemet where it's like all these negative affirmations. I have not stolen. I have not done this. I have not done that. I will tell you with full confidence that that person was performing what Igbo people refer to as Ego Ofo. Ego Ofo. Ego Ofo is when you go to your altar and you declare your innocence, right? You declare your innocence. I've not done this, I've not done this, I've not done this. What you are doing in declaring your innocence is you're also declaring your worthiness, right? To continue to have what you have, to be who you are, and to be connected to all of these higher spiritual forces and higher elements of yourself that do not associate with things that have desecrated hands, things that are of poor character, of bad character, right? Um, I can go on and on about this topic, but good character is paramount. It is the core of everything. There's a level where you will not pass if your character is not improved. In fact, there's a story of Mbe the tortoise. It's a super popular story. One of my favorite YouTube channels, Mota Dioto, which is learning is sweet, learning is good, it's fun. The person who made it, Udochi Okeke, we actually had an interview. I actually interviewed her before she launched it. So you guys can look there. It's the one with the little turtle in my head and her head, right? And she has this really beautiful animation about this story of Mbe the tortoise, right? And I'll be quick with telling the story, but the way the story goes is that Mbe the tortoise was hungry one day, and all these birds came down from the sky, and their stomachs were full. And then they saw them, and I was like, well, where did they find food? I think there was a famine going on or something, right? Where did they find, why are they full and I'm hungry? So Mbe got closer to them and they were saying, oh my God, I ate this and I ate that. Or what did you eat? Oh, I ate that. Oh, it was so good. And Mbe's like, where are you guys getting this food? And they said that they got the food from Obi Chuku. They got the food from Obi Chuku. Obi Chuku is the where Chuku, the creator, this resides, right? Resides, right? The word obi also has layers of meaning. So obi can mean the heart, right? Obi can mean the heart, whichever one is the heart. Obi can mean the heart. Obi can also mean where something lives, right? Where something lives. So, but, and then obi is also an altar. So all three, but then if you could imagine all three of those meaning the same thing, like they're not like it means this and it means that, they're all the same thing, right? Okay, going back to it, right? So they oh that we went to Obi Chuku and then Mbe is like, okay, I want to go to Obi Chuku too, right? And so they're like, okay, you can't fly, and they're like, okay, just I mean I don't know, we can do something, right? And so the birds all decided to take snail slime from a snail and cover his body and then take their own feathers and put the feathers on the body of Mbe the tortoise. And they then began to flap their wings, and Mbe mimicked them, and then suddenly this tortoise started to fly with these borrowed feathers. Mbe reached Obichuku, and everybody sat down, and the birds told Mbe, okay, this is how it works. Chuku will only give you, listen to this. This story is fun and it's funny and kids love it, but it's deep. So listen to what's being said, listen to what's happening. Every single thing is a symbol. I'm going to break it down. So they get to Obichuku and Mbe goes, and Mbe goes, oh no, the birds tell Mbe, you can only eat what belongs to you. Chuku will only give you what belongs to you. And then Mbe's like, okay, bet, bet, bet. And so then Chuku comes out and goes, okay, everybody, I'm going to give you according to your name. So everybody say your name. And Mbe goes, my name is everybody. And so Chuku gave Mbe the food that belonged to everybody. So Mbe's like, oh, you guys are right. This stuff is good, right? He's eating everybody's food. He's eating everybody's food. The birds are just looking at Mbe like this, right? They're looking at Mbe. Man. The birds grab Mbe. They rip the feathers off his body. And they throw him off of Obichuku. And then there begins the process of falling, until finally Mbe hits the ground and cracks his shell. And that's why tortoises have cracks on their shell. Now, the symbols, right? What are the symbols? Symbol number one in Odinani, the feather represents order, purity, and moral character. The feather also symbolizes the concept known as Ogun. 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 Ogun is the universe's force of justice. Okay? You'll notice that when men get their chieftaincy titles, they'll put a feather in their cap. This is that I have committed myself, right? I have committed myself to being an agent of good character, justice, divine law, and a guardian for the community and a representative of my ancestors, right? When I put that feather in my head. Just a side note too. So if you ever see somebody with two feathers, okay, one feather means I have gotten the title. I have this title, right? Which is usually associated with achievements and good character. If you have two feathers, that means I and my son. So if your son gets a title, you also get that second feather, right? That kind of thing. So I thought that was cool. And so the feather represents all those things, right? So there's this masquerade known as Komosu in the Owu masquerade. And Komosu is Nechuku, the universe, right? But it's referring to her chaotic nature, right? So this masquerade is going crazy and that kind of thing, and people run from it. Not everybody's allowed to see it and that kind of thing. But if that masquerade sees a white feather, it runs away, right? So it represents chaos, and the white feather represents order, character, all that stuff, right? So once you have the feathers all over you, right, which you're borrowing, right, you can now ascend. The person Mbe now ascends to Obichuku. Obichuku, in a lot of Odinani stories, when people enter I guess what English would call the supernatural spaces, there's always listen to the rule is always a key lesson in the story. Follow the rules of this place. You understand? And the rules of this place is Chuku only gives you what belongs to you. You understand? And Mbe goes, oh, okay, I'm Mbe, I'm the trickster, right? So my name is everybody. And then from there, he got everybody's food. And then they all took their feathers back, and all of a sudden he can no longer reach that thing. So I'm saying all this to say that story is very packed, super packed with with allegory. The tortoise shell, right, is also symbolically linked to Afa, to divination, right? It is symbolically linked to Afa, divination, okay? So what I saw in the symbology was the feather is the direct connection to the spiritual, right? And then the tortoise shell is the intermediary, is an intermediary, right? So now you can't get directly there because you're not worthy, but the tortoise shell can help you get there, right? Just a couple of things like that. So that's just what I saw. So back what I was saying. So yeah, that story is about Eziomume, good character, right? And the fact that good character is necessary for ascension. There are a lot of stories too. So I've told the story of Odachi Nebere, where Chuku, the Eke blows, his wife blows up and creates the universe and that kind of thing, right? There are a lot of versions, there are a lot of creation stories, and they kind of always follow that pattern. One of them is that there was two spirits that were linked to each other, Chi and Eke, or some people actually say Ago and Mo, right? And these two spirits were floating around, and the Chi one of them was trying to fly, and the Eke one was trying to reach the ground. And so the Chi one was trying to fly, and the Eke one was tickling. Or I can't remember how the story goes, but the Chi one says, "Okay, we're trying to fly, so you have to do as I say." And the Eke one started tickling there, and then they started going back down as they were tickling. Tickling, by the way, is associated with sex in Igbo storytelling, right? Started tickling and started falling down, and so then the Chi one got mad and ripped the Eke one to pieces, right? And then the head reincarnated into as Allah and all these different things. So it's just a different version of the same story, that kind of thing. I'll probably make a video with this version of the story there too, right? But in that one, the Chi, in order to ascend, grabbed two feathers and started trying to start to fly. And then the Eke was like, no, I want to be on the ground, and start tickling. So all that stuff. So I don't know. What is Aro? Is it connected with Uche? Yeah, yeah. So Aro is like okay, remember I was saying earlier with Ose being like a wave, right? Aro is also the same thing as Ose, but Aro comes from the earth. It comes from the earth. Okay? It comes from the earth. So imagine, you've also probably heard the phrase Ako na Uche. Ako na Uche. Ako, Aro, same thing. Ako, Aro, same thing. Ako is intellect. It's worldly wisdom. Uche is that beyond the divine wisdom or spiritual wisdom, right? Ako is worldly wisdom, wisdom of the earth. Both of them are divine wisdom. Ako na Uche. Or some people say Aro na Uche, right? So Aro bin Agon is the Aro of Agon, which is the earth knowledge, the earth wisdom. Okay, so for those who don't know, at all times we receive two streams of consciousness, Ako na Uche, and both of them create human sentience. Spiritual wisdom, which is Uche, and then earth wisdom, which is Ako. Both of them, whatever. Ako is also intellect. So what I'm doing right now is sharing Ako with you guys. That's why talking is Akoko, right? I'm sharing Ako with you guys. Giving you guys Ako. We're earth people, so we can send Ako to each other back and forth, right? Uche, not so much. Uche, not so much. Uche na bia bia. Uche comes when it wants to and leaves when it wants to, right? I can give you Ako, but I can't necessarily give you Uche. But Ako is fine enough. People, build space rockets and houses and all with Ako. You understand? Both of them are divine wisdom, but Ako is the one we use to operate in the world. Okay, so or Aro, same thing, right? Even the town Arochukwu, their motto is Akobu Ije, like or that intellect is the journey. Intellect is the journey is their town motto. So same shit, same stuff. My bad. Just call me Buddha, baby. Well, she knows what it is. Hello, comma Jermaine. Okay, is that Jermaine? Jermaine, there. Well, Jermaine, let me know if that's you. I kind of don't understand the initial message you sent. Hello, Jermaine, comma Dur. I'm thinking that's Dur. What animals are associated with Ekwensu? Good. Okay, Ekwensu, the tortoise shell, the outside of the tortoise shell, uh, and the eagle. The tortoise shell and the eagle are both associated with Ekwensu. Very specifically, the symbol of Ekwensu, if you want to be really specific, the symbol of Ekwensu is a falcon picking up a snake or an eagle picking up a snake, right? Ekwensu's full title is, I think it's Ugo Siriawu Tsupuru Agwo Na Uzo or something like that, which is like the eagle that comes from the sun. The eagle that comes from the sun and removes the viper from the road. That is Ekwensu. Now, what you'll find really interesting is now that you know the symbol for Ekwensu is a falcon picking up a snake, right? Go check a lot of the national emblems for a lot of countries. Go check a lot of the national emblems for a lot of countries. They're not always going to be, it's not always going to be a literal snake, but it's going to be a banner. But the banner is going to be very snake-like. Some of them are very literal, like the Maya or the Aztec, which then becomes the Mexican one, which is the eagle picking up the snake. But like the American one is a eagle picking up a banner. You understand, right? So Ekwensu is the eagle that eats the viper, that picks up the viper from the road. It is also the hawk that does the same thing, the falcon, all those birds of prey, minus the vulture. Weight, I don't, let me not say minus the vulture, maybe the vulture, but I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe the vulture. But for sure, the eagle, and for sure, the tortoise shell specifically. Okay? The tortoise shell specifically. That's kind of where I get the name the medicine shell, right? The medicine shell is in reference to the tortoise shell that you use to keep your Afa divination beads. Okay? And so, yeah. Okay, that was a dope question. You should make a video on e-golf fall. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I've put myself in a situation where my schedule is brutal. So I got a long list of videos I need to make, but once I get some structure to my schedule, they'll come flowing out like water. But yeah, Eagle Off Fall would be a great video. What if you had poor character, but rather something you regret? Is performing Udochi best? Well, first make right of the thing that. Wait, what if you had poor character, or rather something you regret? Make right of whatever it is that you regret in the best way you can, and then go do the Udochi, right? Make right of whatever it is that you regret. Regret is your chi telling you, go fix that. Go fix that. Or don't do it again. Right? And so yeah, make right of it, then perform the Udochi. You should be fine. Oh yes, the tortoise story stay getting himself in trouble. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think let me take that back. The heart of God. Yes. Shout out to the snail. The tortoise constantly doing something, even in Yoruba. Allah folk. You see, Allah. Anyways, yeah, the Igbo word which is not coming to me right now because I'm tired is also very similar. Uh, Allah, Ifo. Okay, so Ifo. That's hilarious. But yeah, yeah, no, the tortoise is always on some bullshit. Do you say some more about the Izumezu? Do you take it figuratively or literally? Completely different way. Say some more about the Izumezu. Do you take it figuratively? I take the Izumezu very literally. I take it very, very literally. So ezumezu is, if you can imagine, ezumezu is, the phrase ezumezu is like total and complete, right? The total and complete face. It's kind of what it's saying, right? And so total and something that is total, entire, 360, just complete. And so your everybody has an ezumezu. Your ezumezu is you beyond you. So it's almost like you as a solar system. This is how I picture it. With how you have the sun and then all the little planets and asteroids floating around. That's how a person's ezumezu is for them too. So in my ezumezu, my full complete self, my ancestors are there in the millions. Anything else I'm connected to and associated with, it's all in there and it all comprises me, right? So that is what the ezumezu is. And a lot of DBO work is balancing that ezumezu, making sure that the different parts that are fighting each other or clashing with each other or that kind of thing, or trying to communicate that it's all working together and functioning and so forth. So yeah, that's it. But yeah, I take the ezumezu very, very literally, right? Um, I know that there are some certain things I feel that feeling's not coming from me. That's coming from somebody in there, right? It's coming from somebody way, way in there. You understand? Um, yeah, and so forth, right? I don't doubt my affinity for Odinani is I strong feeling that it's coming from my ancestor Nechege, or Nenna. I have two my great hold on grandmother, my great grandmother and my great grandmother were both very spiritually powerful women, especially my great grandmother. Very powerful women. Till this day, there's a certain masquerades can't come onto my family land, and if they do, they have to come in backwards. And that is in respects of her. That is in respects of her. My great grandmother. So I strongly believe that a lot of what I do is coming from her, that kind of thing. So I take it very literally. Love this story. Can you talk about the authoritative positions and roles women had in Igbo traditions? Yeah, I feel like so much information has been lost due to patriarchy. Yeah. So traditionally, the way Igbo land was governed, I don't even know if governed is a good word for it, right? Governed is like a cave word, man. So. But the way Igbo land was governed was that I made a video called the Oha Igbo traditional government. So that's that one's gonna break down what I'm about to talk about very well. So the way it was almost like it's a democracy of multiple overlapping unions. Okay. So for example, now within the most important government is the family government. That's the core, right? The smallest possible government is the most important government, right? And so government. And so the first two union is the men's union and the women's union, right? The women's union has two uh, branches. There's the daughters union, which are the daughters that were born into that family, and then there's the wives, which are the wives that married into that family. They be doing this. There's a lot of this that happens, right? And so those two, they're gonna have their leadership. They make rules for themselves. In Igbo culture, any rule that pertains to women is made by women. Any rule that pertains to men is made by men. If for any reason we need to make a rule for everybody, both sides have to be consulted, right? Both sides have to be consulted. I'll give you an example. So the Aba Women's Riots, or the Aba Women's War, it's called, right? During the Aba Women's War was this during colonialism. It's considered the thing that sparked the independence movement in Nigeria. And what happened was the British had just gotten like control of all the different parts of Nigeria. Then they want to now start implementing their taxes and all their BS, right? So they came with the taxes at first. And in Igbo culture, you cannot tax women. Women don't get taxed, right? Women's properties don't get taxed. And so all the women were like, if they tax, we're going to tear this place up, right? I read a lot of colonial documents, and they're very aware of how powerful the women are. They call them market mammies, which you know, but how powerful the market women were. And so, in fact, let me leave that alone. They were going to tax, and so the incident got sparked off by this woman named Wanyaruwa. Wanyaruwa. The name literally translates to child who gives the world, the child who gives the world, right? And so Wanyaruwa, the story goes that Wanyaruwa was minding her business, and this particular this he's an Igbo person, but he's like working for the British government. He comes up and goes, "Hey, I'm here to count I'm here to count your properties." And Wanyaruwa responds, "Have you counted your mother's properties?" And so he slaps Wanyaruwa, and Wanyaruwa goes back to the women's congress, the women's that those unions, right? And goes, "Hey, they've come with their taxes, and this guy slapped me." And they were so well interconnected with all of the different women's unions in the region that in a matter of like a day, the entire region was rioting, right? We call it a war, the British call it a riot. So the women would go to like the police stations, they would like attack everybody there. They'd break the place open. They'd free the prisoners. They were destroying courthouses. Anything associated with the British was just police stations and courthouses. Those of you think that, oh, they brought development. Police station, courthouse, barracks. That's you know, police station, courthouse, barracks. That's it. School too, school too. So but yeah, the police stations, the courthouses, the barracks, they were burning them down. They were, on the streets. They would also, like, when women protest in a lot of parts of Africa, they'll go topless, right? And which married women don't go topless outside of their family land. So it's supposed to put pressure on the men, right? And so the women are going crazy, and it's not just Igbo women though, because these unions are all connected. Well, they used to be. They kind of ended that, but so they went all the way to like what is now known as Akwa Ibom State, which is a totally different ethnic group. In Uyo, there's one. I think she's EBBO, but I could be wrong. There's a statue of an EBBO woman, and there's a gun, and she has the gun and she's breaking it over her lap, and then there's this British guy going, ah. It's like it's probably my favorite statue, but she's breaking it. And this statue is depicting something that actually happened, that one of the women, that the British were coming to shoot them, and she grabbed the gun from him and cracked it over her knee and that kind of thing. And the British guy, just broke a gun with your knee, right? Which, if you've been to Nigeria, that shit's very realistic. And my uncle, anyways, I'll leave that alone. So yeah, this big thing breaks out and that kind of thing, and then the British realize that that the women have a lot of power in this culture. Like, you can't just do whatever. So then they started like trying to like set up a situation like what they have in Britain, where the men are 100% in charge and there's a king and da 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 da. So that, because it's easier to manage, you don't have to like negotiate with all these different unions and things like that. But yeah, things like that. Women controlled the markets in Igbo culture. So anything pertaining to the market, even like and it's still well preserved anyway. So for example, now the Obi of Onitsha, or like the Obi of Onitsha, which is a very high ranking traditional ruler, can't go into the market without the permission of the Omo. And the Omo is like the female equivalent of the Obi. And she's also the head over there, so he needs her permission to enter and that kind of thing, and stuff like that. So the way it is that it's both sides kind of fit together like a puzzle. There are certain things that women don't do, men do it. There are certain things men don't do, women do it, and so we kind of just like that. But usually things that pertain to women make the rules about. Things that pertain to men make the rules about. And I have so many documents of just like what life was like in that time, and the different political debates that were happening in these unions and congresses and things like that. There was one in God, what is that? In Ngwa, which is now Aba, where they were the women had taken on this. There was an epidemic of women getting married women getting boyfriends, and the obviously that's annoying, right? Obviously that's annoying, And so they were at loggerheads. The two sides were at loggerheads about it. And then they appealed to the British to intervene and stop the fucking, or I'm sorry, stop the madness, right? The boyfriends were known as Iko or Iko. I can't say it right. Iko, which it literally translates to cup, right? And so even till this day, a lot of people from that Ngwa region, the word cup is used to refer to like a lover or like somebody you have a lot of affection for. Our security guard was from Ngwa. His name was Ikonne, and Ikonne literally means his mother's cup, right? So maybe he was, a mama's boy or something. I don't know. But yeah, man, just a lot of it was that kind of thing. Now, of course, this isn't like some gender balanced utopia. That's not what I'm talking about. In all reality, right? Men still had a lot of sway or a lot more sway than women in general. And then within the household, the man is in charge, right? Because it's his house, right? That kind of thing. So, I'm not saying all this to say it was some like whatever the hell, right? But that's kind of how it was. And oftentimes, a lot of things get interpreted, like misinterpreted, right? We were having this discussion in the traditional medicine class where, like, for example, now, because in Western culture is anti work, right? Western culture is anti work. It will tell you it's not, but it is. And the way you know that Western culture is anti work is the people who are elite don't work. And if they do work, they lose status, right? And they are the owners of the society. Work is for the peasants. It's a feudal system, right? The actual owners of the land don't work, and the peasants work and the slaves work, right? So all the things that peasants and slaves do are things that society does looks down on. Now they'll tell the peasants and slave, oh yeah, the Protestant work ethic and work this and work, but they don't. It's not a working society, right? Whereas traditionally, even the OB, the highest ranked person in society, is still gonna farm and do all that shit, and they're gonna be proud of it, right? They're gonna work, right? And so things like cooking, for example, right? Cooking is framed in Western intelligentsia as subservience, as some kind of like slavery, right? And so that kind of thing. Farming is framed by Western intelligentsia as some kind of, well, all these things, right? So when they see African women doing these things and cleaning all that stuff, it's somebody's bad. Except when a man does it, right? Except when a man. So like cooking is some kind of subservience, but a chef, which is associated with being a man, is like, oh yeah, it's a skilled job, right? I don't know. I just see these patterns and that kind of thing. I don't know why nobody else, or I'm sure other people see them too. It's a bunch of BS, um, but yeah. So when people see those things, like, oh, how come the women have to cook and all that shit? So I don't know. It's a messy topic. Maybe we'll talk about it one day. But these in the African context, it's not a bad thing to cook and all that stuff. So hope that made sense. Shalom, Zaire. Kedu. Thank you for explaining depth symbolism, giving me I felt cool. I was about to say there's so many eagles picking up a python. Yeah, all over the world. You see that symbol all over the world. You see the symbol of Ekwensu. Usually for things that pertain to like state, military, all that stuff, all over the world. That kind of thing. Was everything controlled by the priests in Igbo system? No, not at all. No, no. So like a priest would be an ezemo, right? And the people that get called traditional rulers and kings and all that stuff in most West African societies are actually priests. Priests are then different from dibias. A dibia is not a priest. A dibia is if you want to say it in English, a dibia is a scientist. Most specifically, the word dibia, if you want to translate it with perfect accuracy, means genius in the Greek sense. Okay, so a dibia is not a priest, right? Uh, the priest would be what's referred to as the ezemo, okay, or like whoever holds the all for the community. So the Obi, the Igwe, the Eze, those people are actually priests. Okay, those are actually priests. Now, during the medieval era and the slavery time, a lot of people became traditional rulers just because they had more force than other people, right? Because they had more force, had more strength. So they use that to become the leader, right? But you'll find that in those situations, there's always some kind of situation where they have to defer to the actual priest, right? But those, as hard it is to explain, those people are not necessarily in charge. They're not in control. They are the ones who are responsible for keeping the connection between the spiritual and the physical. So for the best way, there's a video of the Omo of, I think, Asaba, and she's like the apex women's leader in that town, right? So she's the men's leader is the OB, the women's is the Omo, and they're asking the Almo. It's a really good video. They're asking the Almo like what her role is, and she says 90% of what she does is pray and pray for people, right? Pray and pray for people. She's not the one telling people, okay, you must do this and blah 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 blah, right? So now when the British and all them came, they tried to skew those titles to be more of an authority so that they can have indirect rule, somebody who they can go to directly. They don't want to go and start debating and trying to get your opinion across, and that was a headache for the huge headache for them, right? Huge headache for them. So they wanted those things to be more, and then of course they found more favor with those who got their titles by force, so or whose titles are associated with force, right? I'm trying to think of some in Igbo land, but I can't really think of too many. I know that our neighbors to the south have a lot of people like that. Uh, okay, from like Opobo, right? Jaja of Opobo and them. That uh, royal house was created because that person was richer and more powerful than everybody else. That's how that got created. Like Opobo is a good example, right? But the king of Opobo, or whatever the title they use, I think they use Eze or whatever. The Eze of Opobo, I don't know what title they use there, is not necessarily a priest, right? But the Obi of Onitsha is a priest. The Ezenri is a priest. The Ezearo is a priest. All those different ones, right? So, but they're not necessarily, the priests are not necessarily in charge, if that makes sense. They're not necessarily in, they're just the ones that have to do the thing. I'm trying to think of, it's comparable to like the modern day Pope, not the medieval Pope, but like the Pope right now, if we were in a Catholic country. The Pope's not really in charge, right? They just have to do all the sacraments and that kind of thing. So that's what I can compare it to. And so no, not everything was controlled by the priests. I have gifts that I don't speak of. Should I continue studying Ori? Yeah, why not? If studying Ori is helping you grow, go for it. Badass babes of the Southeast. I love it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I lost contact with her. So Wanyarowa, when she passed away, she reincarnated into I'll call her a friend, into a friend of mine. When I first started the medicine shell, this friend reached out to me and said, I'm actually the incarnation of Wanyarowa. I was like, get out of here. So she is an activist in Chicago, and she ran for political office. And you guys can probably find her based on this description. She ran for political office. She's an activist. She's got like a lot of fire. It has been 4 years since I've last spoke to her, so I'm not remembering details. But I know that the person she reincarnated as is an activist in Chicago, was very active during the Black Lives Matter thing, that kind of thing. So, I don't, yeah, yeah, yeah. Also, because of that system, I just learned this today, the Igbo women got the right to vote before the other women in Nigeria because they had already had the level of standing they had in society to begin with. So they actually got the right to vote first. And when Igbo women, then shortly after Yoruba women, then like a while after Hausa women got to vote, kind of thing. So just a little fun fact. Kind of BS that men can run around doing nonsense. They keep getting their feeling when women want cups. Hey, listen, man. I don't, man. That I'm not with that cup nonsense. What are we talking? Let's not forget, women can get pregnant, bro. I don't, like, what are we talking about? The whole time you're just looking at your kid like, nah, man, nah, that's not cool. It's our rule in my town. That type of thing would be our rule in my community. It's our rule. They would have to cleanse the land if they figured out that that kind of thing happened. It's a fiacqua. Hey, it's nice to hear from you again, Olivia. Hey, which Olivia is this? Okay, my question is there any meaning? Oh, is there any meaning of the red cardinal? So the red cardinal, I think, is only lives in North America. So I wouldn't know the Igbo story of the red cardinal. Now, Olivia, unless you are the person who comes to our group study on Patreon, which I don't think that's you, somebody has actually gets visited regularly by a red cardinal, right? And they have learned that there is a significance to the red cardinal that Igbo people probably didn't speak about because we didn't have red cardinals in our land, right? But there's something going on with the red cardinal. Somebody else on Patreon has actually figured it out, right? Somebody, unless you're the same person, which I don't think you are. I just saw your picture. So you're not the first person to point that out about the red cardinal. If I were you, I would look to see what the Native Americans said about it, right? Look and see what the indigenous people of this land said about the red cardinal. That might help. Or just continue whatever's going on with you in red cardinal, keep following it and it'll reveal itself, right? Ask the cardinal, that kind of thing. Good questions today, damn. On the note of them having sway, I be halfway through. Oh my God, Okonkwo is quite the wife beating SOB. Yes, but let's remember when we're reading things fall apart that Okonkwo is exceptionally brutal for his society and his time. The people around him think he's doing too much. Let's not forget that. The people around Okonkwo, because people try to be like, oh, this is how people were. It's like, no, this is a story about Tony Soprano. Tony Soprano is not the normal American, right? He's more brutal than the average American, right? So let's remember that. But yeah, not Okonkwo was not trying to win any fans in that story, right? So such a good book, such a good story. Yes, Igbo culture is positive and negatives. Yes, 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 100%, 100%. Yeah, that guy's problematic. But you know what's funny? And I love that Achebe did this, right? Achebe. So I don't know if you guys, how much you guys like look into things fall apart and all that stuff. So Achebe was writing things fall apart in response to I think it's Joseph Conrad's book like Heart of Darkness, which because he didn't like how Africans were depicted. It was like just some normal racist shit. And he was also critical of this movement in Senegal called Negritude. And Negritude said that we should use art to glorify or to like rebuild the dignity of African people. And he didn't like, Achebe didn't like that, right? And he wrote a very balanced book. And what's interesting about the book is that it's about the people. It's not really about like, you know what I mean? It's about like the personalities. I think people like try to read it from like, oh, this is about colonialism. No, it's about a guy who is super insecure because his dad, he was ashamed of his dad. And so now he's overcompensating. And in the process of overcompensating, he makes himself like the perfect man in his society. And then the society changes on him and he's like, yo, what the hell? and then he becomes the thing fighting against the change, and people don't join him because he was. I don't know. Not ruin the book. Let me not ruin the book, right? But it was so good, and I completely agree with Achebe's philosophy too. It's like just bro, these are people. Just show the people, show the humans, right? And I like that. I liked it a lot. So, but yeah. I'm not gonna. You say you're halfway through, so I'm not gonna talk too much, but I would love to have a discussion about it. It's a really good book. But yeah, he is a problematic king, as they call him. Was there any sort of feminine matriarchy movements in pre-colonial Igbo land? I don't think there was a lot of archy going on, right, Olivia? I don't think there's a lot of archy going on. Archy is like I'm overarching over you, right? That's a feudal term. Like we have to realize that Western society is feudal. It comes from feudalism, right? Feudalism says there are people who own the land and everybody else works for those people, right? When you get into communal cultures, you don't have that. We all either share the land or we all got our own little pieces, right? But feudalism says there's like the King of England, very literally in the feudal era and now, literally owns the land called England. That's just his family estate, right? It's his family estate. That's what it is, right? It's not like a country. It's his. It's just his land. I learned this reading about Frederick the Great. Frederick the Great was the king of Prussia, and he kind of the book I can't remember the title. I don't remember titles, but the book was explaining how Prussia was created. It was like Prussia was a country back in the day in what is now Germany, and it was just his ancestors just kept taking over land, and it was just their personal property, right? So like that's archy, right? Who is the person doing this to everybody? Is it the man? Then it's the patriarchy. Is it the woman? Is it? And that's just not what it was, right? I don't. That's not what it was. If you get into like a feudal society, then you can use those frameworks for understanding, right? But that's just what it is, and you know what I mean. And then also, if like there are things that I guess you could classify as feminist, right? Like you can definitely classify like the Aba Women's War as feminist. You can classify the level of like government autonomy that women had, participation that women had, as definitely can classify that as feminist. You can classify like women's unions, like for example, now like there's a saying in Igbo land that says, "Fear, the fear of Umuada is the beginning of wisdom," right? So there's this organization called Umuada, these unions I'm talking about. It's like all the daughters of the family are part of this thing, and if you violate them in any way, they can sanction you, regardless of gender or whatever. They can sanction you, and then you have to make it right so that your sanction can end. Right now, the reason I started laughing is some of these sanctions are the most hilarious thing you'll ever see in your life. So one example is my my cousin and her husband got a divorce, and something happened it was very embarrassing for him, but it was not considered good treatment of a woman, right? And so in part of the sanctioning is the women were following behind him going, whoa, whoa, everywhere he went. Until he decided to like come to them and do whatever to make it right and all that stuff, right? And the woe is supposed to like they call it sitting on a man, is how you say it in English, where you just annoy and embarrass him until he finally capitulates, right? That kind of thing. Bang pots and pans outside of his house. Yeah, so Umuada be oppressed, but I'm gonna let you guys know right now. All like I'll say 80% of the hardships women deal with in Igbo society is because of Umuada. That's why sometimes I listen to people like, yeah, and then like once the patriarchy, they did. It's like, I don't know. I think I think a lot of this stuff is old women oppressing young women, right? Just because I saw it with my own two eyes, but I think a lot of this stuff is old married women oppressing young unmarried women, right? And that you see a lot of that. In fact, because somebody had said like Umuada is there to like protect women. I'm like, yeah, but husbands are actually there to protect women from Umuada because especially if you're like the newbie or the young, oh my god, they can oppress. And I'm not look, you oh he's just saying he's biased. Go join Umuada and see, you'll see. Go join your Umuada. Go home and say, hey, I want to be a part of an Umuada meeting. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, but the Umonadi, the men's meetings be chill, bro. You get their little beers. Everybody talks about who they talk about. You drink your beers, everybody goes home, right? But the women's meeting, this one hasn't paid her dues. She's not allowed to wear the rapa anymore. Yada, yada, yada. I heard that this one doesn't cook for her husband. This one argues with her husband in public. Da, 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 that kind of thing, right? So I have a different view of these topics, right? So I would consider the Umwada a feminist concept, but inside the Umwada be patriarchal as hell, right? Or really matriarchal, but matriarchal doesn't look like what I guess we're supposed to believe it looks like, right? The issue is the arc. It's not the pate or the mate, right? I hope I didn't lose y'all. I've been ranting, so on them. All right, where are we at? That's why Eurasian came into Africa. They said we had chiefless societies exactly because they couldn't understand nor conceive how exactly, right? So if you use a feudal mind, the peasant cannot govern itself, right? I'm going to say it because a peasant is a resource. It's not a human being, okay? A peasant is a cow. You understand? A peasant is a cow. And cows can't govern themselves. This is going to sound weird as hell. And you're going to look into it and realize, oh, human beings are weird and this is actually making sense, right? Peasants are cows, okay? And then the feudal lord has a big grazing area for the cow, right? That's why you get the countries with the borders. And then you need a passport to go from one person's grazing area to another. Hey, your cow is in my field, right? No, it's my cow. He's got my passport, right? That kind of thing. So the word the F, the root word in feud means cow. It ties back to cow. As does the root word for capitalism, right? This isn't like a Marxist podcast, but as does the root word in capitalism and feudalism are both cow. You understand? They both mean cow. Kaput and feud or something like that, right? And so that's what that is. So somebody with that frame of thinking, they can't fathom people just kind of like existing. They call it anarchy, right? They think that if you're not, even if you read like the top political philosophers of all time or whatever they call, like, is it Paine or whoever wrote Leviathan? I think it's Leviathan. Hobbes. Hobbes. He talks about how like without government, people will be in a state of nature. They'll just be eating each other and brutal, and life will be short. That's not true. How many things did you do today that were based on the government, right? You know what I mean? Like nobody is like, oh man, like if the government wasn't here, I'd completely rob everybody. No, dude, that's no. You know what I mean? So, but the big idea is without government, you do that in a feudal, because it's like if I don't have this fence, these cows are going to run everywhere, right? It's the same mentality. It's a herdsman mentality, right? And not every society had that, right? Now, again, Igbo society is not some like, you know, gender utopia. There's some BS going on there. There's some BS going on, right? There's some things that, yeah, even like Andrew Tate would have a hard time arguing or agreeing with, right? But there are things that are should be replicated everywhere. I think, right? Like I think women's unions are necessary everywhere. I think they're necessary everywhere. I think once once somebody learns how to do that outside of that cult, life all of a sudden gets easy as hell. You know, oh, oh, okay, I wasn't supposed to just do that alone, right? But they have like the police and things like that. They have different structures here, so different society. And again, you know, I live in America. It's a great place. It's not a bad place. So whatever they got set up here, the cow feudalism, all that stuff, I'm comfortable. You know, it ain't that bad. So yeah, and you all are too. So it's all good. You know, it can be improved, but it's not that bad. So I'm not saying my own place is better. We got problems too. Awa means esoteric knowledge. I've heard that before. What language though? I'm from Awa Mama. My town is Awa Mama, which is beautiful Awa. So people argue whether Awa means traveler or frog. I think it refers to frogs because when it rains really, really heavily, these very, very cool looking orange frogs pop up. But you never see them when it's not raining. In my life experience and education are pointing, wait, oh, no. So my life experience and education are pointing to Debia, biochemistry, herbals, and medicine. He said, so Zaire, that is called Debia Nsi, is a chemistry. Debia Nsi, NSI, is a chemist, right? Debia Mborog is an herbalist. Mborog, Mborog, okay, is an herbalist. Mborog is a root, right? And then nursing. What would be I don't know. I don't think there'd be a word for nursing. So either way, so Mborog Nansi. It's a very powerful debia. Cups are for bums. Yeah, man, don't bring that, man. I ain't trying to see none of that, bro. Nah, man, that's Aro in my town, though. That's abomination in my town. Our ancestors are the ones that had good esoteric wisdom. He said, red cardinals tend to be messengers from a loved one, according to some beliefs. Dope. Yeah, keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. It may have been me, red cardinal, or your ancestors. No, Emeka, it wasn't you. It was an Umwada. It was a woman. Does Odinani say anything about mutism or like vows of silence types of being? Not that I know. I don't know anything about. I've never seen that. I've never seen that. Yeah, I've never seen like a vow. I wouldn't. But here's the thing, right? So anything antisocial is going to be frowned upon. I think a lot of like Asian spiritual systems have like a lot of kind of like, no offense to them, things are tend to be a little antisocial, right? Because the big idea is to pull away from the thing, right? But we consider that not good. So I couldn't imagine a situation. I've never seen it in my life, heard of it, or couldn't imagine a situation where somebody takes a vow to not speak and it's like considered a good thing or like growth or spiritual development. I don't think so. If you were born with the capacity to speak, it wasn't a mistake. Now, somebody who's just naturally mute, I don't know. I don't know. What would be an indication to initiate DBA training? Okay. Indications to initiate DBA training. Number one, the passion and the interest, right? The passion and the interest. Your chi is already saying, go there, go there, go there. Signs, you can look at dreams. So they say that Aro Binago visits you in dreams as a stern old woman, dwarves or a dwarf with dreadlocks, or a dwarf in a forest, and a tall masquerade. So these are all the different things that Aro Binago visits you in. I had a dream where I was visited by a very stern old woman who made me look at my palms, and that led me to starting this journey. And initially, I thought it was one of my ancestors who was a very stern woman, and I now realize because of how tall the woman was, that probably wasn't her. That was probably Arobinago, or both. But yeah, stern old woman, dwarf with dreadlocks, or dwarf in a forest, dwarves in forests, and tall masquerade, right? which was interesting because in our traditional medicine class, we have a student who, and if you're watching, I don't think he's probably asleep now. It's a busy season for him at work, but we had a student who was saying that as I was talking about Arabinago, I noticed his facial expression was changing. And I was saying all those different signs. And I didn't say a tall masquerade because both students were American. And I was like, okay, probably wouldn't appear to them as a masquerade. And he goes, what about a really tall masquerade? And I was like, I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, he's been having dreams about a really tall masquerade, and I think an stern old woman. Had another person. We had a one-to-one on Patreon, and she was like that this old woman grabbed her, sat her down, and started writing something on a board that she didn't understand, and like she felt like she had to learn the thing. I'm like, that's our Obinago, right? So I didn't know. Do. But yeah, okay. So, anyways, reasons to look at to start DBA training. You have the interest and the passion, um, dreams, signs, things like that. It'll just appear in your life as signs. But listen to your chi. Listen to your chi. Your chi will guide you. So TFA is like what Dante's Inferno was to the Iliad, and the Iliad is what's TFA? What's TFA? Creative force. What's TFA? So TFA is like what Dante's Inferno was to the Iliad, and the Iliad was to the Odyssey. They're all spiritual books clapping back at things fall apart. Yeah. Okay. They're all spiritual books clapping back at one another and overwriting the prior books' ideas in their minds. I didn't know that. I didn't know that they were all diss tracks. That's dope. But yeah, things fall apart was low key, I think partially like initially inspired as a rebuttal to Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. Um, but I think it took on a life of its own, right? Because it doesn't even frame things fall apart doesn't frame the colonialist as the bad guy, right? Umwada is in charge of women, and they have a deity. While the deity is the most beautiful, collects misalignment, all male. I don't know about all that. The women are brutal. Yeah, right. That's why, like, and like sometimes, like when Western people. Here's the thing, bro. There's nowhere in the West where you can go other than your household that is not in the direct control of another person. So you never really see people in their element. You don't. School is in control of somebody, work somebody's controlling, and then there's like the public sphere, you guys' little third spaces. Somebody's controlling that too, right? You can't be yourself. You can't like take your pants off in a third space, right? So I don't. So when like and then Westerners will kind of give you all these things of how things happen socially and where it came from. It's like, dude, no. You know what I mean? Like, no. You know what I mean? Like I don't like for example, right? Like modesty, rules about like women's modesty. That stuff came from married old women. That stuff came from married old women. I've seen it with my own two eyes. It came from all that modesty stuff came from married old women. You're not going to walk around here half naked while if I were naked, you'd win. So why would I, why would I let you do? Mind you, my husband's here doing this. No, you're putting the damn hijab on. That stuff came. I don't care what anybody says, right? But in the way it's like, oh yeah, in the no, dude, shut up. You don't know. You don't know. You've never be like you're not free. You've never been a place where like people are just free to be themselves. And when they're free, and you start seeing things move the way they move, you're like, okay, that's where that came from. You know what I mean? Like why would a group of men sit around and be like, oh, you 22-year-old girls, from now on, you got to cover yourself. I don't know, bro. I know the fellas. I know men. Now, a lot of BS does come from it. I'm not dismissing that, right? But sometimes when you get these Western takes of what came from where. It's like, dude, you don't know. You're like a peasant, dude. Shut up. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like, what? Anyways, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, what do you know? You know, you went, okay, you were at home, maybe your mom, your dad, you know, he can't tell her nothing, right? So what are you talking about? And then you go to school and somebody's controlling it. You go to work, somebody's controlling it. You know, you do your little doctorate, somebody's controlling it. You go in the public space, somebody's controlling it. And then you're like, oh, I know how people work. No, you don't. You know what I mean? No, you do. You know how well people can follow the rules that have been set for them. That's just what it is. Which again, this is not a bad society. It shit worked out, right? It works. I'm comfortable, right? But you know, if it's structured that way, you can't really sit here. Or when they say this nonsense like, "Oh, people have kids. The reason people have kids, more kids, so they can have more people to work on the farm." You know what I mean? Like, somebody says that, and they have like a doctor. Just stop taking them seriously. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. Just because a person can't fathom somebody just wants to have children. That this large mammal wants to reproduce. It's the have more form than the form. It's like, but again, like the society you're in, they don't. Guys never grown up an onion. You know what I mean? You don't know what it takes to grow anything. You don't need to produce a child, feed it for 7 years so they can finally be kind of useful for a couple of years on a farm. That's idiotic. You know what I mean? Okay, I had you so you can put carrots in the ground. No. So, you know, a lot of like I don't I like for me, and there's a lot of things that Westerners do phenomenal. Architecture, amazing, right? But like sociology, uh anything pertaining to the like talking about the past, right? No. Anything talking about like the world, I know, because you can be considered an educated person in the West and not know a single African country, and you can still be considered an educated person, right? So if that's the standard, then no, you're not, I'm not going to listen to anything. Oh, okay, this is why things about to happen. Nope, nope, nope. You know what I mean? So, anyways, that's my own rant. Marxist podcast. Yeah, that's Hobbes. Okay, I'd love to hear more. Sounds really wild. Okay, cool. That's a different thing. It's a sensitive topic, but how does Igbo culture community handle feeling about abortions? Oh, that is sensitive. Abortions. Oh God, this is gonna. The only reason I hesitate to talk about this is because I get a flood of people that are gonna now look for DBA services. But abortions are considered aru in Igbo culture, right? Because it is considered an unaliving, and you cannot unalive, right? And so now they existed, people did them, right? But it's considered aru. And so I remember one time I brought this up in a traditional medicine class. There was like 20 students that session. And man, my phone's email started blowing up. Like, how I need to do Ichwaro is like abomination cleansing. And I remember the Ichwaro would require the unaliving of a goat. And I was trying to explain, it's like, so you guys want me to kill 20 goats? Like, can y'all calm down? So, this is a very busy season for me. In the summer, it'll slow down. So please, if you guys have any requests for each trial, just one at a time, please. But yes, it is considered so in Igbo culture. Uh, I'm from Awa Mama as well. Oh, I'm from Dimoji. Oh, one Gadukide. Aomonya Umokwe. Aomonya Umokwe. Anyways, yeah, we're the same. We're from the same place. According to spelled meaning way, Awo means something in both Yoruba and Igbo, perhaps town and Igbo land. Yeah. Yo, my brother is on here. What's going on, man? Ndewo, the stream is working. I'm late as F. Hey, Dion, Ndewo. Okay, I think I'm caught up now. Myself, Medicine Shell has the same ancestor from our mama from Put. Hey, yeah, who am I talking to? I'm trying to zoom into your picture. Yeah, so what's the name here? Say hi, and then what do I? Can I push this button to say hi? Okay, so one of my brother, one of my one of the people from my clan are here. I'll do my thoughts on the Afro Man trial. It's funny. Yeah, no, I was following the Afro Man trial while it was happening. I was dying laughing. I had the Lick 'em Low Lisa song stuck in my head for a week, and now it's the Pound Cake song. I go around singing it everywhere. Lemon pie. I actually just watched a long ass interview of him just talking. He's an interesting guy. He's really interesting. But yeah, no, I followed that case heavily. That was so funny. And I'm glad he won. I'm glad he won. What are your thoughts on the case? I don't. Oh man, I'm glad I went live. I met my brother. I talked to Afro Man. I ranted about different things. I think you guys are running out of questions, or maybe I'm not connected anymore. So if the questions are running out, I'm running out. What does I say? Luxuriant, luxur, luxuriant, sunny malan. I will. Hey, I'm gonna. I don't even know if I can follow you. Oh, yeah. So one of my, as I'm telling my village stories, I have somebody here to now confirm the things that I'm sharing with you guys because oh man, as I'm telling you guys about Umwada is the actual source of oppression. People don't want to believe me, but I have my brother here to explain. I saw the interview too. He seems like a typical Nigerian dad, but American. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I can see it. Yeah. I think he's like super, super, super American though, not just because of his attire, just his mind frame and way of behaving and that kind of thing too. I think he's super American. But yeah, I know what you mean. But yeah, he's cool, man. He's cool people. I'm Arison by name. Iwu achọrọ m ịjụ like ndị ezinụlọ gị mana achọrọ m ka you understand. Achọrọ m ka I don't want you to share anything personal, so I'll do my. But you probably, anyways, we probably know each other, or at least by family. Biao, are you one of his owl? Are you one of his owl's brothers, or oh, my own is owl? Saw the interview too. He seems like a typical Nigerian dad, but American somehow. Yeah, I'll do my. All right, y'all. Looks like the questions have ran out. This has been a really good discussion. I'm glad I went live. Um, I think my complicated setup was causing problems, maybe. I don't know. So I'll probably do more off the phone ones here. So this seems sufficient. Last call for questions before I go. Oh yeah, Lord is our wall. One more, please. Oh yeah, draw. I mean, go ahead and ask. Yeah. I'm trying to figure out who this is. This is really interesting. So I'll do more. Anyways, I'm glad you're here one day, Udo. Okay, go ahead, Zaire. We got one more question loading up. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Somebody's hitting the hearts. Hit the hearts. Hit the hearts. Hit the hearts. Oh, what time is it? Dalo. Zaire. What about Ganja. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that at home. There's a lot of that at home. It's not a new thing for us. Yeah, there's a lot of that at home. I don't think I'm sure, I believe it is used in a lot of traditional medicine. I personally don't know how, but I believe it is used in a lot of traditional medicine, right? But yeah, yeah, yeah. All my family is not all of them, but I have many ganja participants in my family, so we do. Anyways, that should be it. Thank you guys for being here. Get on the Patreon. Join patreon.com/slash the medicine shell. Some of you guys did have some questions that look like we should have a one-to-one, so you can schedule a one-to-one there. If you're in Nigeria and you want to get all the Patreon benefits and be a part of the Patreon community, you can become a member of the YouTube channel, or if you just want to be a member of the YouTube channel, I'm still trying to figure out how to make the membership something unique. And I got some ideas, but become a member for the channel. Hold on, wait. Do you guys do spiritual bath as a form of alcohol? Um, I'm sure they exist. I've just never seen one. And be careful with that spiritual bath stuff. A lot of people just want to. Yeah, be careful of that spiritual bath stuff, especially somebody else administering it for you, right? Um, Not that it's gonna do something bad to you, but a lot of people are just trying to, you know what I mean. And so yeah, but I've never seen it by anybody reputable um, do it, but I'm sure they exist, right? Remember, I'm not a DBA. I'm a practicing DBA though. Hey, bro, message me. Message. I don't know if you can find my email. It should be in the description of the video. Send me an email. Let's talk. Okay. How can contact you directly because I'm in Nigeria? Oh, nah. I'm practicing DBA. Email. Zigam email, okay? Zigam email, okay? Come. Okay. Anyways, I'm going. Find my email address. Anyways, as always, unu ga-adị, unu ga-eto, nke ọbụla unu tiri aka ọ ga-adị n'ụwa, ọ ga-adị otu a na eke, n'orie, na afọ, na nkwọ. Ise, daalụ nọ. Udo.